All right, let's kick off another deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at something that even Einstein found impressive: compound interest.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's one of those concepts that once you get it, it just clicks.
Totally. And we've got a really unique source for this one.
Uh-oh, what is it?
It's this text file called, and get this, How to Make Money with Money.
Straight to the point. I like it.
Right. And it's written in such a casual way, like you're just chatting with a friend about, money stuff.
So it's not like one of those stuffy textbook things.
Not at all. It breaks things down really simply.
That's always a plus,
Yep.
because let's be honest, finance can feel pretty intimidating sometimes.
Absolutely. But this source does a great job of demystifying it.
Well, I'm all ears.
Really?
So what kind of insights does this How to Make Money with Money file have for us?
Okay, so get this. One of the examples that really stuck with me is about what happens when you deposit, say, 10,000 euro back into a bank account.
Okay, pretty standard stuff so far.
Right. But here's the thing. This account consistently earns 5% interest every single year.
Ah, now we're getting to the good stuff. This is where compounding comes in.
Exactly. They actually break down the growth year by year so you can see how it all plays out.
So in that first year, you'd earn, let's see, 5% of 10,000 euro.
That's 500 euro, bringing your total to 10,500.
Not bad for just letting your money sit there.
Right. But now here's where compounding really gets interesting.
Okay, lay it on me. What happens next?
So the next year, you're not just earning interest on that initial 10,000 euro.
You're also earning interest on the 500 you earned in interest the year before.
Boom. That's the magic of
It's
compounding.
just like a snowball effect.
It really is. And that difference just keeps getting bigger each year.
So in year 2, you'd be earning 5% on 10,500. Not just the original 10,000.
Yep. So your interest earnings would be even higher. It's like your gains are building on themselves.
It creates this like upward spiral.
Exactly. It's powerful stuff. Now, I know the source also talks about simple interest, to compare.
Right, because a lot of people might think, well, what's the big deal? Interest is interest.
Yeah, but there's a pretty big difference. They even have a handy table showing how that same euro kruno would grow over 20 years.
With both simple and compound interest, right, using that same 5% rate.
Exactly. And with simple interest, after 20 years, you end up with, well, what would you expect? Double, right?
Yeah, you'd have $20,000 there.
Cows,
I don't
makes
know.
sense. But with compound interest,
Well, that's where the magic happens.
would actually have over $26,500.
That's like 6,500 more.
Just from letting your money compound over time.
That's the power of compound interest.
It really hits home the idea that when it comes to investing, time is your biggest ally.
Absolutely. And speaking of time, I think the source introduces us to a character named Juan, right?
Oh, yeah. He's a young professional, starts investing at 30.
Okay, so pretty relatable for a lot of our listeners. What's Juan's story?
So he starts off by investing $30,000.
All right. A decent chunk of change to get started with.
Yeah. And we're assuming, based on, historical stock market performance, a 7% annual return.
Okay, not unreasonable at all. So what happens after, say, 20 years?
I'm guessing it grows quite a bit.
You guessed it. That 30,000 almost quadruples.
Wow. How much are we talking?
After just 20 years, Juan's investment balloons to 116,911.
That's incredible. So nearly a 300% return just by letting his money do its thing over time. And it doesn't stop there, right? Didn't Juan start contributing more on a regular basis?
You're absolutely right, and that's where things get even more exciting.
So he's putting in, what was it, an extra 6,000 a year?
Yep, 6,000 every year. And to keep up with inflation, he increases that amount by 2% each year.
Okay, so small but consistent additions. What kind of impact does that have over time?
Well, after those 20 years, his investment isn't just sitting at 116,000. It skyrockets to 402,139.
Wow, that's more than 3 times what it would have been without those extra contributions.
Yeah, it's a testament to consistency. Even small amounts over time make a huge difference.
Makes you think, like we could all probably find a way to put aside a little extra each month.
Right, and it really highlights the kind of snowball effect we were talking about earlier. But let's jump ahead a bit. What happens after 40 years?
Oh, I remember this. This is where it gets crazy, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is where the power of compounding really shines. After 40 years of consistent investing, Juan becomes a millionaire.
No way. Over €1 million.
So his investment hits a whopping 1,981,204.
That's incredible, all from starting early and staying consistent.
It's a real testament to the power of playing the long game.
Totally. I mean, Juan's story is pretty inspiring. It shows that you don't have to be, a Wall Street whiz to build wealth.
Exactly. It's about making smart choices and sticking with them.
Mhm.
The source doesn't just stop at investment dividends, though.
Oh, really? So it's not just about, watching your stocks grow.
Right. It takes a concept of compounding and applies it more broadly.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Where else does this principle pop up?
Well, think about businesses. Specifically, companies that reinvest their profits.
So instead of just pocketing the profits, they put it back into the business.
Exactly. They use those profits to fuel further growth and expansion.
So they're kind of compounding their own growth, in a way.
You got it. By reinvesting, they can innovate, reach more customers, generate more revenue, and that leads to, you guessed it, increased share prices.
So it's like they're creating their own snowball effect, just like with compound interest.
You're catching on quick. And the source uses a pretty compelling example.
Let me guess. Apple.
Bingo. They point out that if you had invested just $1,000 in Apple 30 years ago,
Okay, back when they were just starting out.
today, thanks to their consistent growth and all that compounding, that investment would be worth over $104,000.
See, this is what I find fascinating. It's not just about money sitting in a bank account. It's a bigger idea.
You're hitting on a key point here. Compounding, it's not just about finance.
Right, it's like a fundamental principle of growth. You could apply it to almost anything, right?
Absolutely. Think about personal development, skill building,
Yeah.
even relationships.
Okay, hold on. So every time you practice something, learn something new, connect with someone.
You're making a deposit into your own personal growth account.
And just like with money, those little efforts over time can lead to big results.
It all comes back to that saying, little by little, a little becomes a lot.
That's a good one. And I think that's really the core of this whole deep dive, isn't it?
It's not just about understanding compound interest. It's about harnessing that power of compounding in all areas of life.
Exactly. It's about looking beyond the immediate and thinking about the long-term impact of our actions. So as we wrap up, what would you say is the most important thing for our listeners to take away from this?
Good question. I think it's realizing that we don't need some huge dramatic change to make progress,
Yeah, like those New Year's resolutions that fizzle out by February.
Exactly. Real change comes from the small, consistent things we do every single day. It's about playing that long game.
Knowing that those little efforts can compound over time.
Yeah, exactly. Patience and persistence, those are the keys.
Which, let's be real, isn't always easy in today's world.
Right. We're bombarded with this idea of instant gratification. But the truth is, the things that matter most, they rarely happen overnight.
They take time, dedication, a willingness to keep going even when you're not seeing those big immediate results.
Absolutely. And that leads me to a question for our listeners. How can you apply this idea of compounding not just to money, but to your own life?
Ooh, that's a good one. What are those areas where putting in the work consistently can really make a difference?
Maybe it's spending time each day learning something new, or strengthening those relationships that matter most.
Or working towards that goal you've had for ages, even if it feels like you're only taking tiny steps.
The point is, identify those things where consistent effort can pay off big time.
And then commit to showing up day after day, because those little actions will add up.
They really will. And it's not just about the end result either.
Right, the journey itself becomes more rewarding.
Exactly. Like, instead of focusing on those quick fixes, you're building something lasting.
It's like building a house, brick by brick.
I like that. Each brick might seem small, but together they make a solid structure.
And that's what this deep dive has been all about.
It's not just about understanding how compound interest works. It's about using that understanding to create growth in all areas of our lives.
So as we wrap things up, I want to encourage everyone to think about their own seeds,
Those goals, those dreams, the habits you want to build. And remember, with patience and a little persistence, amazing things can happen.
It's about trusting the process and knowing that even if you haven't started as early as you'd like, it's never too late.
And the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
I love that. Every step you take, no matter how small, moves you in the right direction.
Exactly. So keep learning, keep growing, and keep those snowballs rolling.
Until next time.